There's been a lot of media lately discussing President Trump's reaction to colleges that impose affirmative action programs in order to increase the number of students or professors who have been historically or traditionally disadvantaged in this country. So in terms of policy, I think affirmative action is awful and that it hurts most the very people that it purports or aims to help. In spite of that, I don't think the federal government has any role, one way or the other, in endorsing, supporting, or shooting down affirmative action policies of private institutions or universities. I know in the case of Harvard and Columbia and others like that, the threat was that they would no longer get grant funding. Well, guess what? They shouldn't be getting grant funding anyway. We shouldn't have grants. There should not be education grants. That is not a good role of government. So we shouldn't have that stick to be able to hold over them, because there shouldn't be grants coming from the federal government in the first place. I'm completely opposed to that. But I don't like the idea of the government imposing on them and telling them what they can't or can't do in their own hiring practices. They should be free to be as racist or not as they choose, irrespective of what the rest of us feel or think. And they should have to live with the consequences of their choices in that regard. I would not support any federal agency imposing any kind of affirmative action program. The thing is, affirmative action, it's a classic example of very well-meaning politicians with the best of intentions setting something in place. And these people that created these programs are now long since gone, no longer in office. Many of them are dead. And they had no idea what the implications, what the practical outcome of these policies and programs might be. But in the case of affirmative action, if you think about it, at least the perception, even if you say it doesn't really work this way, I would argue that it does in many cases work this way. But the perception is that people of color, people who are ethnic minorities in the U.S., are allowed into certain programs or can pursue certain careers or occupations, even though their statistics are not as high as those with whom they're competing. So somebody might have lower test scores, lower grades, be less impressive as a candidate or whatever, but still get the job or still get into the school because this ethnicity has traditionally been discriminated against, and we want to rectify that. But the unintended consequence and effect of that is that then when that happens often enough, and I think it already has happened way too often in this country, then when somebody's in the waiting room and a doctor comes out and that doctor is black or a woman or Hispanic or whatever from India, many people will have an unconscious and reprehensible racial response in their brains. Even if they try to suppress it, they're going to think, oh, this person wasn't as competent as the white one, but this person got this job because of the color of his or her skin. That perpetuates racism in our country more than almost anything else. Anytime that we have laws that favor one race or ethnicity over another, it's invariably going to cause people to have negative thoughts about the people of that ethnicity. I believe that people of color are just as intelligent, capable, hardworking, etc., as those who are not people of color. And I think that all of us are of equal worth in the eyes of God, and we should be of equal worth to each other, and nobody needs a special handout or a freebie. White privilege is a very real thing, and many people do start at a great disadvantage, unfortunately, in this country. But the best way for us to overcome that is not to have programs that enforce or that cause people to start questioning, like, did I get into this school or did I become a doctor because of the color of my skin? Am I not as competent as these white people around me. That's horrible that people should ever have those kinds of doubts. That's awful, not constructive, not helpful, quite the opposite, detrimental. I think that if we remove restrictions and restraints and just allow everybody to rise to the same level, over time, we will.